fitting us in. He's live from Radio Row there in New Orleans. The one and only Tom Krasniqi, WDAE. What's going on, buddy?
Buddy, how are you, Jay? Good to see you.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for joining us today. That background noise, don't worry about that. I heard the interview with Gerald McCoy yesterday, man. How great was that to be able to get him on?
It was because, we get to Radio Row and we're setting up shop, and I was just taking a walk around, and I didn't plan on having Gerald on. I saw him with Ross Tucker, and they were doing a spot together, and Gerald comes off the stage. He sees me. You know how gregarious he is, and he comes up, gives me a hug. What's going on, big dog? You're here? I'm like, yes, I'm here. I go, you have time to come on with us? And his handler's like, well, he's got to do this, and this. And Gerald's like, nope. This guy, Tampa, he jumps to the front of the line. What time do you need me? I'm on at 2:00, Central. He goes, I'll be there. He showed up, Jay, at 1:50. Nice. All right, ready to go, talking off the air. We went on the air, obviously, and he had some interesting things to say about Myles Garrett, of course, and Liam Cohen leaving, kind of biting his upper lip and doing so. But it was awesome to see G-Mac here. It was a great way to start off Radio Row.
I listened to the whole thing twice yesterday. I listened to it live and then recorded a little bit later on. Of course, you can hear Tom every single day at 3 on 95.3 WDAE and AM 620. Download that iHeartRadio app. If you missed that interview, you can go. Don't listen to it right now or at 3:00 when Tom does the show. But listen to it when you're not listening or watching both of us. Go check out that interview because it was really, really great stuff. Tom, how does it feel to be at Radio Row, man? I know, we did the kind of the weird thing a couple of years ago when it was here in Tampa, but I know this was a goal of yours, working an afternoon drive, to be able to be there with so many dignitaries. I know it means a lot to you.
It sure does, Jay, and it's a great experience seeing, dozens of other radio stations, the national outlets all being here. And, yesterday was sort of a quiet day on Radio Row, but it's going to ramp up today into tomorrow. We have some big-time guests planned and working on some other big-time guests as the week goes on. But it's just a great atmosphere to be here, even if it is in the middle of New Orleans, obviously a big rival of the Buccaneers in the NFC South. But it's been an awesome experience so far.
Yeah, just make sure you bathe multiple times before you head back here because you never know what you're going to get there on Bourbon Street. What do you think about this whole Myles Garrett thing? I know I was listening to you yesterday as we were driving around. We would love it, right? It's probably unlikely because of what it's going to take, not just the draft picks, but also knowing that you got to pay the guy, right? He's going to want to get paid like the top pass rusher, and deservedly so. He's earned the right. But I think you and I are of the same ilk of like the Bucs got to do something at the pass rusher spot, whether it's probably not now Max Crosby. That was the name I was bringing up about a month ago. A Trey Hendrickson, a Myles Garrett. They need a bona fide pass rusher to really help this defense.
They sure do. And look, if you're Jason Light, you've got to at least inquire, right? You've got to make the call, see what it would take, see if it's even reasonable. Now, the Browns have said they still will not trade Myles Garrett. But as we saw over the weekend in the NBA, Luka Doncic got traded. Anybody can get traded at some point in time in sports. So it could be a wild scene with Myles Garrett, and it appears that they are headed for a divorce. And look, the Browns are like caught really in the middle of a precarious situation. This is a guy who's entering his prime, one of the more feared defensive players of our generation. You certainly don't want to let this guy go. At the same time, though, he wants nothing to do with you. He knows what the Browns are all about. He wants to go somewhere where he's got an opportunity to win. And look, even though, and you may mention it, and I talked about it yesterday, when they say it's not about the money, Jay, it's always about the money. So he's got 2 years left. Nick Bosa makes $34 million a year. He's undoubtedly going to get more than that, probably $35 to $40 million. So you're going to have to sign him to a huge contract extension and give up probably multiple number ones, which obviously Jason Light doesn't want to do. But when you're a player or two away from winning it all, Myles Garrett could be the difference maker. So I think the Bucs have to do whatever it takes. At the end of the day, do I think it's going to happen? Probably not.
Yeah, and I'm with you. You said this yesterday, and I've been kind of echoing the sentiments too. You go out and get a guy like that. Inherently, you make your team better, not just because you're replacing, Yaya will still be the guy on the other side, but you're taking those JTS snaps, those Braswell snaps, even the Shaq Barrett snaps, and you're giving it to an all-pro. Not a Pro Bowler, an all-pro. But you're also making Vita Vea, Kalijah Kancey, and your corners, whether it's Xylem Collins, Jamel Dean, they don't have to cover as long. because
Right.
they know that guy's going to get to the quarterback. I know Gerald said something yesterday about Lavonte David, and being in that locker room, Tom, he had tears in his eyes. KJ Brett had tears in his eyes. And, I know Gerald said on the program yesterday, which was great. Last year, it looked like Lavonte even felt like he probably wasn't coming back, and he did. What is your gut telling you about Lavonte coming back in 2025 for the Buccaneers?
I spoke to Lavonte the day after the season ended for a couple of minutes, and he said, look, I'm going to take some time. And he said, when my mind and my body are in agreement, then I'll make a decision. And then he went on to say, and I thought this was a very telling comment, I know I can impact this game. I know I love the game of football. He loves it. He thinks he's still, an impact defender. So I thought that resonated with me more so than anything else. I think he's going to take some time away. At the end of the day, I think he is going to come back next year. I really believe that.
The interior linebacker position, regardless if he comes back or not. I mean, Tom, at this point, me and you are going to have to go out there and try to do something because they need help, man. KJ Britt, JJ Russell, nice guys, but at the end of the day, they're glorified special teams players. Is that the spot you target in free agency, draft, or both?
I think both. I think the Buccaneers will look at both avenues, and I think the return of Servassier Dennis will be huge for that position. Great coverage linebacker. That's what they struggled with. He's got to be able to stay healthy, but you can't bank on that guy coming back and making an impact A, and more importantly, B, staying healthy. So I expect the Buccaneers more so in the draft than free agency. Free agency is going to cost them a lot of money. Those are veteran guys looking to get paid. But I think the Buccaneers will absolutely window shop in free agency, but more likely than not, it'll be the draft where that help comes from.
Yeah, and even if you get a guy in the interior linebacker position, usually it's a guy trying to reestablish his value, 1-year deal like we saw with Zach Bond. So even if you get a guy like that, yeah, great, you solved that issue for 1 year. You were at the Stinker Soiree Friday night, which was we had Joey Johnson on yesterday, just speaking about the entire thing of him getting the Tom McEwen Award. And I know you were there, and it's one of those things. Somebody asked me actually Tuesday night, or the other night, how do you get invited to this thing? I go, I don't know, but I was in the building, and that's all that matters. And you were up there helping give away award. It's such a real nice highlight of what goes on in Team Tampa Bay. And I know it means a lot to you to be there every year.
It's always emotional, and Rob Higgins and the Tampa Bay Sports Commission puts a lot of time and effort in putting that event together, not only highlighting the pro sports franchises, Bucs, Rays, Lightning, Rowdies, the Sun, but also the local colleges and youth sports, amateur sports. It puts a spotlight on some of these athletes that you would normally not hear about through the mainstream media. So I think they do an extraordinary job. And as usual, there are a couple of stories that they highlight there that, make you emotional, that are tearjerker type of moments. But that's what the Tampa Bay Sports Commission does. Rob Higgins does an extraordinary job in doing so. And, that event has been around, Jay, 13 years. And, all of 12 of the 13 years I've been able to be there and be a part of that event. And it's always an honor to be a part of it. It is awesome each and every year.
Yeah, I remember early on, in the media, I always remember the big dog recording there and doing the show there and just seeing every dignitary walking up to him and all these huge names. That's before I really knew the crazy MFer Phil Esposito like I know him now. It's just a wild experience and a lot of good fun. What do you think of the Super Bowl on Sunday? I heard what Gerald had to say on the program, and I kind of lean that way of Philadelphia's got so many good players, but it's just until you knock off the king, it's hard to go against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs.
He's Ric Flair. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. To be the man, you have to beat the man. And that's what it comes down to. And look, when you give Andy Reid 2 weeks to prepare, whether it's coming off a bye week or whatnot, he almost never loses. And that's a point that a lot of people need to realize about Andy Reid. Also, Patrick Mahomes going for the three-peat. They understand what's at stake here. They know how important this game is for their legacy. No one's ever done 3 straight Super Bowls in the modern era, and that's exactly what the Chiefs are shooting for. And I think the Eagles are exceptionally talented. I think man for man, do they have more talent than the Chiefs? I think yes. I think the answer is yes. But I think the Chiefs have the it factor, and I think they have the coaching advantage going into this game. And I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think it's going to be a close game. I think at the end of the day, though, I think Mahomes hoists that Lombardi trophy yet again.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think about how well Jalen Hurts played the first time these two teams played in the Super Bowl, and they still lost, right? It came down to that one fumble that he had. Nick Bolton picked it up. Sunday's going to be crazy. I want to ask you before I let you go about the Rays, your thoughts on the moves that they've made so far and everything that we've heard as far as the latest when it comes to the stadium.
I think, and I mentioned this maybe last week, when it comes to the stadium, Jay, the silence is deafening from the Rays.
Mm-hmm.
They're not saying much, and you know them as well as I do. When they don't say much, that means they're up to something. They're a calculating group. They have this deadline until March 31st. I think there's some things happening behind the scenes. I think ownership is thinking about some options that are presented to them. It wouldn't surprise me if somebody, an investment group, either buys into the Rays or the Rays maybe sell it all together to rid themselves of all this. And look, if Stu sells, he makes $1 billion off his investment. So that's not too bad at the end of the day. So I think that's something that bears watching over the next 2 months or so. In terms of the on-field product, having talked to Eric Neander several times in the last week, he's quietly confident that this team is going to be able to surprise some people. They know they could pitch. There's no question. They've got the starting depth. They've got guys in the bullpen who throw 98 to 100. It's the offense. And Ha-Sung Kim, whatever he does, comes back. I think he'll provide a boost there. They're relying on Josh Lowe to stay healthy, and Yandy Diaz ditto, Brandon Lau ditto, Junior Caminero. We saw what he did in the Dominican League Series, just incredible talent. If they can just be average-ish offensively, I think they're going to surprise some people because they're going to be able to pitch more so than a lot of these teams will be able to.
Tom, who do we got coming up on the show today and the rest of the week?
Today, it's a big show. Ryan Leaf will join me. Trevor Sikkema, your boy, will be here as well.
Stamkos.
Oh, you're going to love this shit. Mr. Bloody Sock, Kurt Schilling, will be on with me a little bit later on. So
let me know what time it is so I won't tune in.
So you know that guy, you never know what might come out of his mouth. That's why I want to put him on today.
Ask him if it was Heinz or Hunt's ketchup.
I'm betting on the Heinz, but I think the interview will come to an abrupt end if I do mention that. But he'll be on with me, and we've got so many guests planned for the rest of the week. Some planned, some I'm working on, some big-time guests as well. Maybe Derek Brooks will join us. Booger McFarland, I ran into him at the Sneakers Soiree. He said he's going to be out here. He's going to come on with us. So it's going to be awesome. Jameis Winston is moseying around. I'm going to try and grab him. You saw what he did last night at the press conferences. So it's going to be an awesome day today and throughout the week. I'm looking forward to it.
I got a lot of my friends like, you think Jameis is going to be the Giants quarterback next year? I'm like, maybe. I don't know. You're dumpster fire over there. I have no idea. But yeah, you're right. And once I heard that you were having Kurt Schilling on, I heard Pat and Aaron talking about this morning. I was thinking back to one of the most iconic interviews that we've ever had in the Tampa Bay area. Was it Dwight Smith that said the Super Bowl was rigged with you and Ronnie?
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy that he says that. And then all these years now, and I think it was Terrell Owens, I think, said yesterday that it's rigged because of the Chiefs. So you guys might have been onto something, brother. Dwight Smith.
Dwight Smith was a loose cannon, man, when we talked to him a couple of years ago. And I still can't believe to this day how resonating that interview has been when it went viral. If you look it up like on YouTube, it's got millions of views or whatnot. So I don't think it's true, but it's certainly interesting.
You got that right. Tom Krasniqi at TKraz on all social media platforms. Hear him every day at 3 o'clock on WDAE on The Drive, and especially this week, Radio Row, a slew of fantastic guests. Tom, appreciate your friendship, your mentorship over the years. Thank you so much. Continued success. I'm so glad and happy that you are there. I know how much that means to you. Enjoy the rest of the week. Tell Nick Wise to stay on it, and we'll talk to you soon, buddy. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Jay. Always my pleasure, man. Keep doing what you're doing. Love you, man.
Thanks, buddy. Love you too, buddy. Good stuff.